Man, abrupt ending.
What's up, hockey fans? Joel clomping all over the open here tonight. What's up, hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Pod Snipe Celly. My name's Dan Bradley. Alongside me tonight, Joel Fernino. Joel, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I am doing great. Daniel, how you doing?
Well, just getting by. Another Tuesday. Looking around the NHL landscape, all sorts of big stuff going on. Of course, we got the Stanley Cup final.
What? Stanley Cup final? What?
Yeah, surprise.
Oh.
We're 2 games into the Stanley Cup final already.
Yeah, and my boys already got a 2-0 lead in the series.
We will break that down. We will break down the 3-team trade that happened today. A bit weird that we get a trade.
But break down or make fun of?
A little of both.
Some
call them A, some call them B.
You can break it down. I'll make fun.
You'll make fun of it. That's fine.
Yeah, because it's hilarious.
Yeah. We will talk about Cole Caufield's contract extension, and we'll talk about the Anaheim Ducks' new head coach. But, of course, the big talker, got to start with those Golden Knights. A 2-0 lead in the Stanley Cup final. Relatively close game one until Vegas kind of broke away late, but things pretty evenly matched throughout most of that game. Not the case in game 2. A 7-2 win for the Golden Knights last night. Joel, in your eyes, what has Vegas been doing right through these first 2 games, and what is Florida doing wrong?
Well, what is Vegas doing right? It's been what both of us have preached the whole time. Their depth comes at you in droves. They run a consistent 4 lines. They run their consistent 3 lines of defense. Adin Hill virtually came out of nowhere in the playoffs and has continued to live up to the man, the myth, the legend that is now Adin Hill, apparently. Where did that guy is come from?
Paid.
Hell yeah. Whether he stays in Vegas or goes somewhere else, if he can get paid. If I were him, I'd stay in Vegas regardless of what happens. But Vegas is just all over them. They're they're just so versatile. They have their speed. They have their toughness. They just lock you down. They can score from literally anywhere. They're scrappy at times. I know we'll probably get into some of the officiating. That's fine, but they're scrappy and they're well coached. That's the other big thing. They're so well coached. Like they are just, I'm going to continue to say it because I don't know who decided to not listen to me all throughout this entire regular season and leading into the playoffs when I kept continuing to tell you last season's Golden Knights were a fluke. And they were going to be right back to contending this year. And what are they doing? They're 2 games away from their first ever Stanley Cup in franchise history.
Yeah, watching the series so far, you really see a couple of things that stand out to me. One, I think the long layoff, as we talked about last week, killed a lot of the momentum for the Panthers. You have, I believe it was 10 days off between games from the end of the Eastern Conference final to the start of the Stanley Cup final. And that layoff really hurt him for a team that really had to be scrapping and clawing since about mid-February to get into playoff position, to clinch your playoff spot by a single point, to battle back from down 3-1 against the President's Trophy winning Bruins in the first round to keep their playoff hopes alive. This team has been in playoff mode basically since mid-February, and it seems like it's finally starting to affect them where they're at mentally, physically, the demand of that series. I also think, there's not really a team in the Eastern Conference that plays stylistically the way that Vegas does, that Florida has had to encounter in their run to the Cup. Boston is probably the closest, but it's been a long time since they had to play Boston. And I look at team defense, and specifically among the defensemen, Vegas's defensemen versus Boston's defensemen, the way that they play you is different. Vegas's forecheck, they've left Florida nothing. And then their attack when they have the puck, has come right up the middle. Florida has done nothing to keep Vegas from attacking right up the gut. They're getting lots of opportunities off the rush. I think Florida has been outcoached to a degree in the first couple of games. It was either the third or fourth goal last night where the Panthers were playing at even strength and had been for some time, and somehow only had 4 players on the ice. That's the type of mistake that you cannot make in the Stanley Cup final. I know with my junior Cyclones, we had a problem with that during the season. Coach would be screaming his head off about it. Even at the juniors levels, at the NHL level, I just don't understand how that happens. It's a lack of attention to detail. It's a lack of focus. It falls on the players. It falls on the coaches. That to me was a big problem. And then that spiraled into a lack of discipline between Florida and Vegas after that, where we now have a combined 14 10-minute misconduct penalties through the first 2 games of this. Whether that Chuck deserved the misconducts that he got last night. Game 1, you can't argue the misconduct he had there. You can make an argument about last night's, though. Game 1 was his sucker punch.
Yeah, that's fine.
No argument on that one. But last night
he got 2 of them, and both of them were, I will put it bluntly, horseshit. And I'm rooting for the other team.
Joey's saying
Joey's back. Layoff has been brutal. Always something I worry about in playoff. I mean, that's true. And I mean, you know what? I'll admit that I was wrong too. You and I were on opposite ends of that before the series started. I said it wouldn't affect him too much. I was very wrong.
I thought Vegas would take game 1. I thought Florida would figure it out and be ready for game 2 and maybe even things up, or at the very least look better. Joey back and better than ever. HP saying refs are handing out misconducts like
seriously, it's mostly last night. That hit on Eichel literally said it himself. Had I not toe picked, like, that wouldn't have looked the way it did.
Oh yeah,
and even with him
monstrous but clean hit.
Yeah, and even with him toe picking and ending up kind of leaning into it, his head wasn't even the first point of contact anyway. So
it was just end of his shift, trying to clear the zone, toe picked. He's gassed because he's just been skating his bags off for a minute.
And he got up. He was fine. He was back on the bench later in the period. So he's all things. I mean, all signs point to he's going to be in game 3. He'll be fine. They got the extra day off. They got to travel to Miami now. So that was not a misconduct. That's I don't even know what to call that, really.
I would have heard an argument for a 2-minute. For the
honestly, no,
the knocking the stick out. It's not like it's a. Here's
the
cheeky.
deal.
It's not dirty.
Yeah, here's the deal. The knocking the stick out of the hand. That's just chippy. Like, that's just stuff you're gonna get. It's the playoffs. Yeah. It's the finals. Like that's another. Call me a meathead. That's a let the boys play. And maybe a minor. Maybe if you want to give him an unsportsmanlike minor, fine. If you really want to do it just to set a precedent, fine. But with that score later in the game, who the hell cares? We've been saying it a lot. Like, the refs are either the refs are feast or famine. They're swallowing their whistles, or they're calling literally everything under the sun.
Yeah, it was Kazari and Rooney were the refs last night, and those two, I've been ripping on them since the Wild's first round series with Dallas. And those two completely just lost control of that series. I don't know how they've continued to kind of go through. HP's saying Barbashev's reverse hit on Gudas was head contact, though. And Joey's saying Barbashev, Wolves legend.
Barbashev.
True. Gotta love Barbashev. There's another guy who's going to get paid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's against the team that I'm rooting for, and I'm still sitting here like Tkachuk didn't deserve either of those misconducts last night. Would it have changed anything? No. That game was won in the first 10 minutes of the game, truth be told. Florida just basically by the end of the first period was like, can we just, get the charter going and just get us back home and we'll worry about game 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing too, I mean, I mentioned it, they come at you in droves. The quote from the coach, like literally every single Vegas's coach, like he was saying, like everybody is a scoring threat. Every single person. Like, yes, you have the standouts right now on Vegas. If you were to give me a Jonathan Marchessault or a Jack Eichel, obviously everyone would agree. But then let's not forget, like, you got Chandler Stevenson with 17 points, Mark Stone with 17 points, Joey mentioned, Ivan Barbashev with 17 points. Then you dropped down to William Karlsson, 15, Riley Smith, 12, blah, 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 blah. I just had to name off, 3, 6, almost 9 players before we get into single-digit points on the nights. Everyone can score. It doesn't matter who, and that's the biggest thing. If you want to win the Stanley Cup, all these names that are coming out, goal by, what was his name? Oh my God, what was his name? Keegan Colasar.
Yeah, Keegan Colasar.
Teddy Bluger.
Teddy Bluger.
Right? Yeah,
yep.
That was it. Teddy Bluger pops up, and we're like, who the hell is that? And yet he's scoring in the Stanley Cup final. That's what you need.
Did Bluger score?
Yeah, he had a goal. I believe it was in game 1, though. I don't know.
Because I thought he hadn't played in the series yet. Maybe I'm wrong.
He was
I'll check that one up.
He was on the ice last night, that's for sure. Unless they changed it.
Was not in Vegas's lineup last night.
No, he was on the ice.
Unless
maybe I'm thinking game 1.
And game 1. Go back and check there because I thought he was out of the lineup for something. I thought he might have been injured or something.
It was probably game 2. So, no, he didn't score a goal, but he at least assisted on a goal. But anyway.
He was not. He was not in the lineup game 1 either.
I literally saw him on the ice.
He might have skated during warm-ups, but
no, it was a scrum in front of the net. That's very weird, but whatever.
According to what I'm looking at.
Well, either way, yeah. Keegan Colasar is another one, though. I mean, it's just everybody is scoring, and that's just Brett Howden. That's another one for you. Like
yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah, and we talk about Barbashev like. When we were talking about the trade deadline moves of moving Kane, moving Tarasenko, moving Timo Meier, the big name guys. No, it's the guys like Barbashev. It's the guys like Domi for Dallas in the last round.
God, I hope he comes back.
Those were the moves that put teams in positions to compete. You have to already have the star power in the fold. It's filling out your third and fourth lines with guys who just have off the charts compete levels. Guys who are going to dominate the face-off dot. Guys who are going to sacrifice the body, take a hit, make a play. Doing those little things right on your third and fourth line so that your stars can continue to elevate. That's what we're seeing for these teams and for Vegas in particular with the playoff success so far.
Vegas wants it, man. They should have had it when they made it in their inaugural year. They probably really should have.
Ovi was not going to be denied.
Ovi wasn't going to be denied outside of if not for that, they win in their first year as a franchise. And hey, things might be different if they don't. I think they've had that hunger. They've had that kind of chip on their shoulder every single year since then. And what better motivation than we've made the playoffs every year. We haven't missed the playoffs as a franchise. I know they're a young franchise, but we haven't missed the playoffs as a franchise. They missed last year barely. And everyone's calling for, Vegas, how the mighty have fallen. Maybe they should blow things up. What they're doing isn't working. What they did, the Fleury move and everything was just a terrible move for them, this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, it was arguably, sure. But I told you, man, it was a fluke. It's just interesting. Are we really going to be able to sit here by this time next week and say, the Florida Panthers they were the Cinderella team that swept their way into the final, but then were swept out of the final? Are we going to potentially see that?
I'm going to say no.
So am I.
The same reason that I've mentioned it in previous playoff rounds. You don't have a series until the home team loses a game. So
fair point.
once a home team loses a game, you get in trouble. And otherwise you end up in a game 7 and then everything, you throw the rule book out the window. But general rule of thumb, it's not a series until the home team loses the game. Florida, I'm guessing, had a very, very quiet plane ride back either last night, this morning. I would guess that was a very quiet flight. Maybe you had some guys watching film. Maybe you had some guys, discussing face-off plays and strategies. Maybe you had some of that. But after the way that it wasn't just that they lost, it was how they lost last night and had something like 68 penalty minutes for the game. A lot of that was the misconducts racking up. Might have been even more than that. But just not what you come to expect from the Panthers, really. It almost seemed like as soon as they got behind, they were, we're not going to beat you on the scoreboard. 84 penalty minutes for Florida last night, 64 for Vegas. And again, those misconducts racking things up. But still, you can't keep shooting yourself in the foot like that. And I think about Tkachuk, who, again, like we said, whether he deserved the misconducts or not, the things that he is doing took him off the ice when the team needed him. Yeah, they were down 4-0 at the time of the first one. In the first one last night, I should say. Yeah, there were 4 minutes left when he took that misconduct in game 1. But you need your best players to be available and be on the ice. And Tkachuk hasn't necessarily done that so far. I think Florida we're going to learn a lot about Florida in the first 5 minutes of game 3 and whether or not they're going to be in the series to stay or whether it will be a sweep. I do expect it to be a rowdy, raucous environment as it's been throughout the playoffs in Florida. I expect it to rain rats at some point. Just that's their weird tradition. It's what they do.
We didn't bring up what you asked me to. You did ask me also about like what Florida is doing wrong.
Yep.
I'm going to add one more bullet point to it. It's not necessarily what Florida's doing wrong. Mid-regular season, Sergei Bobrovsky is back.
Yeah, we can't not talk about Bobrovsky, and he was removed from last night's game.
I'm not going to say it was his. I'm not going to sit there and say it's not all his fault. It isn't. But at the same time, the Bobrovsky we were talking about through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs versus now game 1 letting in 4 goals and posting an 87% save percentage, and then game 2 letting in. What did he let in?
He let in 4 right before, and then he had a 692 save percentage last night.
Exactly. Nice. Anyway.
Nice. And I guess if there's one benefit for Florida fans, we got an Alex Lyon sighting out of it. So
it did. He only let in 3.
which, by the way, you still have to start Bobrovsky in game 3, right?
Oh, if there are any conversations amongst the Florida Panthers fan base about starting Alex Lyon in game 3 over Sergei Bobrovsky, I'm going to need you to put down the alcohol and make sure you don't drive. That's not an option. Not in game 3. Yeah, Bobrovsky deserves a cup more than anyone on Vegas. Debatable.
I have to think about that one.
Yeah, settle down over there. No, I don't think anyone on Vegas has done anything wrong. HP's out here acting like Vegas are the bad guys when they're just the ones who have quietly plowed their way into the Stanley Cup final because, they quietly did it because no one was ever paying attention to the West. No one was going to. Alex Lyon, Wolves. It all comes back to Chicago. The Panthers wouldn't be in the playoffs if it weren't for Chicago.
20 minutes and 20 seconds. Is that a new record for how long we've made it into the show?
Dan, you need to realize.
Up Chicago.
You need to realize I'm the Chicago guy. You're the Minnesota guy. We bring up our own markets.
I guess I did bring up Minnesota earlier, but that was talking about ripping the refs. That wasn't talking about anything the Wild did.
Yeah, so what?
Other than to say that they lost.
What's wrong with that? Look, hey man, I know you're salty. You're saltier than a Chipotle or a burrito bowl from Chipotle, but you're gonna have to deal with it.
I'm not salty. I'm marinated. This has been festering for a while. This is more than just pouring on salt. This is marinated.
I'm excited for. You know what? Hold on. I saw you were ready to move on, and I want to ask because I have an answer, but I want to hear your answer. Do you go chalk? Do you think Florida gets on the board in Game 3, or does Vegas take a stranglehold?
Oh man. I look at the things that Florida did right and Florida did wrong through the first couple of games. And the things that they did wrong, to me, don't inspire a lot of confidence for the future. But
right,
the fact that they're going to be playing at home instead of on the road, and not only that, but their first
Stanley Cup final game on home ice since 1995.
96. Yeah, it's been a long time since those fans have seen a cup final in their building. It's going to be insane.
Oh, yeah.
And I think one way or another, I think Florida is going to come out with a win. I don't think it's going to be a pretty win from start to finish. It's probably not going to be a series of highlight reel goals. I think you're probably going to see some fluky bounce late in the third to take a lead or something like that. It's going to be an ugly win, but it's still going to be a win.
Are there any lines up on a Matthew Tkachuk overtime goal?
Not about an overtime goal, but I could get you.
That's what I'm saying, an overtime
could get
goal.
You the odds on his prop, and I could do it on the Bet Stamp app. So let me go ahead and look that up here.
Or parlay the prop of the game going to overtime and then parlay it with an anytime goal. That just sounds weird.
Right now, the best odds if you're picking Vegas on the road, plus 105 at Superbook.
And where are you looking this up again, Dan?
On the Bet Stamp app.
Oh,
free Bet Stamp app.
Oh, it's free.
Should mention that as well. And Panthers minus 119 on Bet Rivers. So just a little food for thought there.
So you're going chalk, right?
I am going chalk. I am going to take Florida. Actually, I guess technically, if you wanted to go Matthew Tkachuk last goal, that's the final one to score, which not necessarily overtime, but last goal,
but game winner, regardless.
Not even necessarily
game winner. Yeah, you're right.
If Vegas scores 6, but then Tkachuk scores and it's a 6-1 loss, he still scored the last goal.
You mean like he did last night?
Yeah.
Which hit my bet.
Tkachuk last goal is plus 850 on DraftKings. So, spicy one there. Something to consider.
Well, look, from a betting perspective, and this is me saying this isn't from a betting perspective, but everything you just brought up, that building hasn't seen a Stanley Cup final since 96, so it's going to be on fire. Absolutely. It's going to be rocking. Top that with, like you said, Panthers probably had a very quiet plane ride home. They are probably what I'll call back to your analogy. They are probably marinating in a lot of anger.
That loss that's a stinger.
Oh yeah. Had it been an overtime loss, I think we're talking differently here, but that was a absolute ass kicking.
Yeah, so I don't think you're going to get Paul Maurice saying, it wasn't a sweep. You look at the scores, it wasn't. No. If Vegas sweeps, it is in fact a sweep. There's no doubt about that one.
He needed to call Rod Brindamore. Yeah, so we didn't actually lose 7-2. We only lost.
Yeah. You look at the third period, and we lost that game 3-2.
Yeah.
It was a lot closer game if you throw out the first 40 minutes.
Normally, this is where I'm like, I love the good story of the pissed off team that is going to come out firing on all cylinders, the building rocking, raucous. That's normally where I'd sit there and say, and also it's game 3, regardless. Usually especially in a scenario like this, first game at home, probably a good bet on Florida to win. I'm not doing that this time. I think Vegas. I think Vegas wins tomorrow night. I don't think it's. I can almost guarantee you it's not going to be a game 2. It's not going to be just a obliteration. But I think Vegas comes out. I think Vegas goes up 3-0. I still don't think it's a sweep though. And quite frankly, I don't want it to be a sweep.
No,
I don't want this. Like I want Vegas to win. But I don't want this to be a sweep. I want more hockey. And selfishly, I'm going to Vegas. I want it to go to game 7 so I can be there for game 7.
There are at most 5 more NHL games between now and October.
Right.
That's the reality of it. Yeah. So
that's not necessarily sad though. The NFL
unless it's your team specifically.
Oh, yeah,
I want game 7, man. As a hockey fan that doesn't have a rooting interest for either team in the series, give me game 7.
Do you know I looked up tickets on StubHub for game 7 since I'll be there?
I believe it.
Let's just say I don't know if I would be in game 7, but I would definitely be there to watch it in a sports book and celebrate if they won.
You mentioned the standing room only. Just to ballpark it, would those standing room only seats be more or less than $1,000?
I was going to say, do you want to give an over under? What
yeah.
What are you going to say? I'll give you an over under give me over under 800. What do you think?
I would think over 8. I was going to say 1,000 might be a little much, but 8, I could see it being 8. And I could see it being 8 as it gets closer.
Close. As it stood, this was on StubHub because obviously I didn't actually look to see if you could actually get a regular, regular face value ticket. I'm assuming they're all swept up now. It was the lowest I saw was about like $720, I think, for standing room at T-Mobile. So would I be willing to pay that? Because that's not something. That's a very. It's not something you can say that you've been to every day. Game 7 for the Stanley Cup final, but it's quite a bit. Maybe what I'll do is the minute I get there, I'll hit a slot machine for like $50,000, and then I'll buy tickets.
We have had one Stanley Cup final game 7 since 2012. That was in 2019 when you had the Blues and the Bruins.
Yep.
I need another game 7. I really do.
Yeah.
And you don't think the NHL wants that 2 game 7 in Vegas?
Wait.
The party that the league could have if they have game 7 in Vegas.
You mean 2011?
I said 2012 earlier.
Yeah, no, it'd be 2011.
Since 2012, including 2012, there has been one. 2011 would be before 2012. So my window is the last 10 years.
Yeah, the 2011-12 Cup final.
But that wouldn't be the last 10 years.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Keep forgetting it's 2023 now.
Yeah. Funny how time works.
No, it's not funny how time works.
That's a real question. That's a real
stumper. Dan, you want to tell us, let's quick chit chat about the other things that have been going on in the league today.
Yeah, there have been a few other ones. In fact, one was a weird 3-team trade that we get during the Stanley Cup final, which I feel like usually we don't get trades during the Cup final. It's usually announced like shortly afterward, before the draft.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is product of, I'm pretty sure, like they don't say like you can't do it, but I'm pretty sure I would buy into the league officials telling teams like, hey, can you maybe please don't make big blockbuster trades during the final so we don't take any attention off of it. Yeah. Right. So this is
like, and at least they did it on a day that there wasn't a game. Like,
and it's not necessarily
but still,
it's not like a blockbuster per se. It's
a reasonably big trade.
It's baffling. It's sheer stupidity. And actually, before we get into it, I have the I can read off the exact terms of the entire trade. I have it up in front of me right now.
Okay, good, because I had it written down, but I didn't have it up in front of me. So I'll go ahead and let you break this one down.
So
who gets what?
So finalized today. What was it? Around like 2 p.m. Central, I think, something like that.
Something like that.
It was a 3-team trade between the Columbus Blue Jackets, the LA Kings, and the Philadelphia Flyers. So going down the line of the teams I just named, Columbus, I have to chuckle, acquires Ivan Provorov from the Flyers. Okay. And actually, I'll skip LA for a minute. Philly, because Philly and Columbus were the big players here. So Columbus acquires Ivan Provorov. That's it. Philly acquires goalie Cal Peterson, Sean Walker, Helga Grans. That's fun to say.
Yeah, Swedish name.
Columbus.
He's so good too.
Yeah. What is he? A center?
He's a 21-year-old D-man.
Oh, he's a D-man. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. The only name I knew off there was Cal Peterson, and obviously Ivan Provorov. But so yeah, Cal Peterson, Sean Walker, Helga Grans. I had to say it again. And then also Columbus's first round pick this year.
LA's first round pick.
It was LA's
from
first
Columbus.
Yeah, yep. Exactly, which is hilarious. And Columbus's 2024 or 25 second round pick. There's a condition in there. And then LA's 2024 second round pick. So Philly, for all intents and purposes, gets a ransom back.
They made out like gangbusters today.
Absolutely.
Danny Briere is kicking ass and taking names.
And also, Danny Briere, I heard it today on a podcast. Danny Briere clearly has some blackmail, I think, on Columbus's GM, probably.
My goodness, has to be. To get away with what he got away with in the return it's wild.
And LA, in the midst of all of this, retains 30% of, I believe it was Provorov's salary.
Provorov's deal, yeah.
And then also acquires Hayden Hodgson and Kevin Connaughton.
Yep.
So,
which, by the way, we should mention as well that by getting rid of Peterson's contract, who Peterson was an AHL goaltender this year. He started out at the NHL level, had a goals against average near 4. Just a rough start after looking like he was going to be their guy for the future. Needed to clear some cap. So in moving out the contract, they did also have the room today to sign Vladislav Gavrikov, who they acquired from Columbus at the trade deadline. So that helps LA out a bit. But all told, they cleared about $1 million in cap room and took back 2 players who are going to be minor league guys.
Oh no,
it really at best at this point, barring something.
I heard
crazy.
today. I guess this adds to. I mean, we talked about the trade market, and this adds to some of the rumblings we've been hearing around the league the last couple of days. Alex DeBrincat potentially might be on the trade market. Word out of Ottawa, and now
if they can't get a deal done,
LA just made some cap room.
I think they would have to try and look for another goaltender first, because they don't have Quick, they don't have Peterson. They have to be looking, which again could be Aiden Hill. That was where my first thought was.
I can't see him leaving though, especially. Well, I guess
you have Leonard under contract, and he has an 8-team no trade clause starting next year. You have Logan Thompson, who is under contract for next year, and he's not playing AHL.
Lauren Brassois.
Brassois is he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, so he's gone.
He'll get a decent deal somewhere.
He will. He's a backup, but he is a very good backup. I would not be confident going into the season if he was my starter.
Oh God, no. But we talked about breaking it down. We just did that. Now let's make fun of it. Because quite frankly, Columbus trades all of that. The first round pick this year, the second round picks, 2 of them. Well, no, sorry, one of them was LA's. So 1 second round pick, the first round pick, those 3 players, realistically a midline defenseman. You know, he's fine. I mean, he's 26, but now you're paying him just over $6 million a year for the next 2 years, I think it is. And he's 26, but I just saw it. Where was he? Yeah. So he's tied for 17th in goals and 40th in points among NHL defensemen. So, like I said, mid. And yeah, he's got his 6-year, $40.5 million contract, 2 years left on it. So, like I said, making a little over $6 million. So you want to pay just over $6.5 million for the next 2 years for mid Ivan Provorov,
whose trade value has never been lower, by the way.
Right. And you had what you mentioned, Helge Grund, pretty good D-man. Like, maybe he's not ready, but if you're truly
Columbus didn't have Grunts. Grunts came from
he came from LA. Okay. Well, either way.
Yeah.
So
which is also still a weird part of that deal, but
it's fine. What I was more getting at, I thought he came from there, but what I was more getting at is you trade all of that when you could have just used maybe that first round pick on one of the few defensemen that are in this draft. Or
it's top of the board,
or second round. Not
only that, but he plays on the left side where you've already got Zach Werenski, so you're giving all that up for a second pairing defenseman. Yeah, he's probably a pretty serviceable.
Yeah, he's fine.
Second pairing defenseman. Could he play power play 2 probably behind Werenski and maybe get you some PK time? Sure. But I look at this and I go, why are you giving up all of that for a guy who is going to be, at best, a second pairing guy with your roster constructed the way it is?
Not to mention, let me correct my math. I forgot LA retained 30%, so they're not paying $6.5 million.
No, they're paying 70%, so it comes out to about 4 point. I actually have Cap Friendly up here. $4.725 million.
All right, so I was close
for the next 2 years.
Said 4.5. I was close. That's pretty good head math. Pretty good. Yeah.
But not even a math major either.
No, God no. I haven't done math. I haven't done math since sophomore year of college. Anyway.
Important to note, you said you haven't done math since your sophomore year of college.
True.
Enunciation counts.
Done math. Mathematics. I don't know. I think it's just stupid. And I think now, will I be a little fair here? Does it look more stupid because of the rumblings that we heard about who their next head coach is going to be? Probably on July 1st when his contract is up with Toronto.
Yeah, the rumor out of Columbus is that Mike Babcock is going to be the next head coach of the Blue Jackets.
How to slow down a rebuild.
Yeah.
101.
Don't get me wrong. Babcock has been a decent coach throughout his career. He's won a couple of Stanley Cups. He's been to 3 for sure.
He won one.
He won with Detroit, and he lost one with Detroit.
Yeah.
Lost one with Anaheim.
He was in Anaheim?
Yeah, during their 0-3 run.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing he does have for him, he's got plenty of gold medals from coaching Team Canada.
You and I could coach Team Canada to a gold medal. Let's be serious here.
That's
the talented rosters that Canada had for those runs where he was coaching.
Yeah.
Tell me we couldn't have done that.
Oh, my God. Wait, I'm sorry. I need to digress just for a hot second.
Go for it.
Oh, my God. Imagine if the NHL lets the players get back into the Winter Olympics again. And you have a Team Canada line centered by Connor McDavid, winged by Connor Bedard, and
probably Nathan McKinnon.
Wait, Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah. Canada, you could
he
play
is Canadian,
centers.
Isn't he?
You could play centers at every.
Yeah, he is Canadian. Yeah, okay.
You could play centers at every position for Canada.
So I just want to drool of that idea. Mm-hmm. Anyway, go ahead. Okay, now back to reality. because who knows? If all the fans want the players to go to the
and there's
Olympics,
talk
that
to bring
makes
back
sense.
the World Cup of hockey, which not the Olympics, but better than nothing.
I'll take that. That's fun. I
Mhm.
like that. It's like, hey, the World Baseball Classic was cool. Let's bring that, But anyway, my joke was going to be Bettman won't do it because all the fans want it. Anyway.
You not wrong.
What the
Find the
fans
line.
what the fans want, Bettman doesn't want.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean that probably adds to it. And quite frankly, yeah, okay, Babcock's a good coach, but he's at this
There are
point
so many reasons not to hire him.
exactly, and probably the most broad reason is that he's the old boys club. And guess what? That doesn't work anymore. Sorry to break it. Sorry to rain on your parade, old man, but not you, him. That style doesn't fly anymore. It doesn't work. And not to mention, we know how he is with younger players and developing. We could go on about that stuff. Like
the Maple Leafs let him go with 4 years left on his deal.
Yep.
Because of how toxic of a locker room he had created in Toronto.
That's why we're in the scenario where it's just a rumor, because it can't be more than a rumor until his contract ends, which I think is
it ends at the end of this month.
Exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, it's like it's a done deal, but it can't officially be a done deal yet.
Right. Beyond that, this is a coach who, after Toronto let him go, the University of Saskatchewan hired him to be their head coach on a 2-year deal. He resigned and retired after 1 year with that program. And when with Detroit in 2011, and shout out to Alex Micheletti, by the way, for finding this one for us. Go give him a follow on Twitter. Alex Micheletti pointed out that in 2011, when the Detroit Red Wings had already had the division locked up, he healthy scratched Mike Modano the final 3 games of the regular season so that he would not get to 1,500 games played for his career. He would have been the 22nd player in league history to accomplish that mark. But instead, because of that, Modano ends his career with 1,499 games played. That's just such a dick move as a coach. It's so rude. Let him play one of those games. You already have the division locked up. You know you're going to the playoffs. You know you got home ice in the first round. But let him play. Let him get that milestone, and you can bring him back next year and celebrate it, knowing he's going to be done.
Over the last 20 years, let's just use 20.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me maybe 3 coaches outside of Babcock that had a bigger ego than Babcock? Probably not.
I'd really have to sit and think about that one.
I'm not. Don't do it. You don't have that.
I won't bog down the show.
It was a rhetorical.
HP saying he benched Chelios in the Winter Classic. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he's not the right fit for the players you have.
Yeah, it was a rhetorical question. That's why.
Yeah.
Because there's not.
You're not going to turn Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine into 20, 40, 60 guys who are two-way forwards. Those guys need to be scoring 40 to 50 goals.
Yep.
They've proven they can do it. They have the ability to consistently be doing it. And let them do it.
And they're skilled enough to do the flashy, speedy type game, right?
Yeah.
That the old boy, I'm going to continue to make fun of the old boys club, doesn't like. They don't like the flashiness anymore. They don't like the
Did they not learn from Torts?
Exactly.
When he was in Columbus?
Exactly.
Did they not learn?
That apparently not.
Yeah.
And that's look, I said it to you today. That move combined with this trade today, it just furthers I don't, and you know me, I don't subscribe to most conspiracy theories. This isn't even conspiracy. It's more just like, how was Columbus so bad? How were they that close into the Bedard sweepstakes? They didn't have that bad of a roster outside of some injuries and such. I get it.
So many injuries.
I get it. I understand. But they have enough young talent that had been up and coming.
Yeah.
And what? How many years ago was it? What, 2, 3 about 3, 4, maybe let's say 3 years
when they beat the Lightning.
Oh yeah, that was 3 years ago.
But yeah.
That was 3 years ago.
2019, yeah.
Sorry, 4 years ago now. 4 years ago when they beat the Lightning. Year prior to that, they were a playoff contender. Year before that, they were a playoff contender. Then this drop off, but they make the trade for Laine. Like, they signed Johnny Gaudreau. Like, there's no reason that team should have been as bad as they were. And this to me just proves like either one, you were purposefully tanking, so to speak, throughout most of the maybe last third of the season.
Yeah, once you knew you had no shot at the playoffs and realized how many guys were hurt for how long.
So you're either doing that, and then now you come out of it like, well, we didn't get Bedard, so now let's actually, play our hand, and we're gonna go ahead and sign or get Ivan Provorov in the trade, sign a coach that's not going to do anything for us.
Not to mention they traded away Gavrikov and replaced him with Provorov. I'd rather have Gavrikov between those two.
Yep. I agree. And so it's that, or it's simply that front office has no idea what the hell they're doing.
I'm really wondering what Jarmo Kekalainen's up to. It's such a head scratcher to me.
Really,
we got 2 more talkers we got to get to here just to close out the show here. Anaheim Ducks hiring Greg Cronin, as their next head coach. He coached in the AHL with the Colorado Eagles, Bridgeport Islanders. I am not super familiar with Cronin as a coach.
I was going to say, this is all you. I've never heard of him before.
These stories I have already heard, I have absolutely loved. And let me read you a couple of these that came from Twitter. So the first one, this is from Mark Diver on Twitter, Divver. An ex-player told me some years ago about an AHL coach who was chirping players on Greg Cronin's team from the bench. Between periods, Cronin went into the coach's office and told the guy that he'd beat his ass if he opened his mouth again. There was no more chirping.
Oh, I love that. That's cool.
And then Brad Schlossman, hope I pronounced that right, Schlossman, a college hockey reporter for the Grand Forks Herald. My second weekend on the UND beat, he came to town as head coach at Northeastern. He was upset about the officiating that night and told us media after the game, quote, all 3 of them, Mo, Larry, and Curly, were sniffing glue. We'll never forget that one.
I mean,
I already love
that. Sounds kind of awesome.
Kind of mindset from a coach.
Hold on, I'm going to Google this guy, Greg Cronin. Right?
Yeah. I love the hire. I love that it brings some swagger to a Ducks team that.
Oh, this dude
that needs it.
That guy's got some grit.
Oh, for sure. He absolutely does. He did a pretty good job bringing along some of Colorado's younger players over the last couple of years and really bringing that program along. And I look at the young players that he's now going to get to work with the Ducks, with Zegras, McTavish, Drysdale, presumably Adam Fantilli. There is so much talent. He's young talent he's going to get to work with and develop. And I look at him as a head coach, and I'm going, if I could take him or I could take Mike Babcock. For my young team, give me Cronin as my head coach. I think this is a slam dunk hire for the Ducks. Yeah.
Cronin, Babcock, or the field. Cronin.
Yeah. Cronin followed by the field.
Followed by the field. Followed by the field a second time. Followed by the field another few times. Nah, dude, fantastic. HP. For everyone who is, I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit on the group chat that is Dan, myself, and HP.
Go for it.
They consistently are trying to spawn this just dream of theirs that the Hawks take Fantilli and not Bedard, which Fantilli's great, obviously.
It could happen.
It's not going to happen, for one. For two, whatever false logic you try to throw in there, you can't rain on this Bedard parade over here.
I'm going to go back.
Not to mention, I have not
We got one earlier.
Oh, wait, what do we got?
We got one way earlier here.
Okay. Hashtag Bedard. Joey's back. But happy
He
Bedard.
got mad at me. He said, "Show it, Dan. Show it."
Show it.
So
you can't deny it. We're going to be talking about it all off season, my guy. And to be frank, also, for one, I have not
can't believe it.
I have not once rubbed it in anyone's face. I've celebrated to myself. I'm not sitting here going, ha 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 ha. You didn't get it, ha ha. No one's doing that here. 2, we'd have to talk about it all off season regardless of who got him.
Yeah, I just admittedly
also don't hate on the kid. Don't hate on the poor kid just because
I'm not hating the kid.
I was gonna okay, good, because there's plenty of people on Twitter who are hating on the kid for
Did you see him chirp Biz last night?
I meant to bring it up. Yes, of course I saw him chirp Biz, and what that tells me is we're about to get a superstar in the NHL with a character.
Yeah, somebody with some personality to him, desperately needed for the game.
And he did it in the perfect way too. He chirps Biz, but he does it in like such a humble way. Like he's not like looking at the camera like I'm a badass. He's just messing around because he knows that's the whole shtick.
That's the vibe with TNT, and that's why their broadcast is better than ESPN's.
Yeah.
He for those who didn't catch what he said, they're talking to him about the combine, which is going on this week. It's nowhere near the same as the NFL combine in terms of the stories that come out and players rising and falling draft stock. And this player ran 40 times? Like they don't run 40 times or anything like that. But he's at the combine, and they flew him out for the game to Vegas, and they were asking him about being on stage on the paddle, and he goes, "Yeah, it's an honor to be here and be sitting with all of these great hockey players and Biz." It's like just such a perfect like if you blinked you missed it type of joke. A+ humor, top notch for Connor Bedard on that one. I loved it.
I loved it so much. I already love the kid, and that just adds to it.
One last young player we got to get to here, Cole Caufield. The Canadiens signed him to an 8-year, $63 million extension. It comes in to an average annual value of, I think it's 7.75 or 7.65, something like that, per year. Going back to the Ducks for a minute, where you now have to sign Trevor Zegras, and I'm looking at among Caufield, Zegras, Boldy, and Cousins. A little bit different with Boldy and Caufield because they both play wing. Cousins and Zegras play center, but that is such a talented young group of forwards. I think this almost sets the market that Zegras is getting $8 million a year AAV on his next deal.
I mean, easily. That's just the market, though. And now I think we saw we went from the amazing, like, fun interview and panel of Connor Bedard, and preceding that was the just shit interview with Gary Bettman.
Oh God, that was such a dumpster fire of an interview.
Maybe
it was so bad.
I'm going to give a shout out to the producers of TNT for putting him on first and then having the headliner of the panel be Bedard. Like, come on.
Yeah,
I was smart. You go from wow, this was just total trash heap to, oh my God, I love this kid. This is great. This is funny. I love it. So
we'll have all off season to rip Gary Bettman, and anyway, we will.
And we will. but the one nugget we did get is that he anticipates the salary cap to go up a whopping $1 million. $1 million. So that's okay. I mean, progress is progress. Fine, cool, but would love to see that go up like, 10 mil in the next. I would like. What are we at right now? What is 83 still?
Yep.
Okay.
83 is where it's at this year.
I would love
next year.
I would love to be sitting here. I'd love to be doing Pod Snipe Celly 4 years from now, but I want to sit here four, maybe 5 years from now and say, hey, remember when the salary cap was 83 going up to 84 and now we're sitting at 100?
Yeah. And it could happen.
It can happen if Bettman's replaced, but anyway.
If Bettman's replaced and we don't get another lockout.
And maybe, change the whole Fanatics thing. I know you guys rip on Fanatics, and I was kind of like trying to play the mid ground. Like, all right, you two need to settle down.
You're like temper your expectations a bit, and then you saw the draft hats.
Released.
They're so bad.
Like, why did you make everyone's logo inside of it's like a shield, but it's not?
Last thought on Caufield. Montreal still has a long ways to go as they go through their rebuild. I do like the pieces they have in place. I like Suzuki. I like Caufield. Love Uri Slafkovsky. I know he had a rough year this year.
He'll
love him
as
a prospect anyway. And be patient. He's 19. Chill.
Nope, he's relax. A bust. He's a bust.
Yeah, you know how that goes.
Trade him for a 7th rounder. It's over.
Yep, if you're lucky. Future considerations.
Just put him on waivers.
I like what the Canadiens are doing, but I look at how things ended with the Shea Weber, Carey Price era with what they have as what they have to do for future rebuild.
Hey, they made a cup final.
They did. They overperformed like crazy to get there. Probably could have benefited more from not going on that run, but they did, and good experience. They made the most of it.
Are the Florida Panthers the Montreal Canadiens of this playoffs?
No, because Montreal had a losing record when they made the playoffs.
And Florida has a much better team. I'm joking.
Just objectively a much better team than what Montreal limped into the playoffs with, and you just got vintage Carey Price for a miracle run. Which, by the way, off-season topic that we need to write down, but I'm going to say it now so that I hear it and I remember.
Everyone needs to see how we're teasing all these off-season topics.
I need you to rank the best goaltenders to not win a cup, including but not limited to a list that has Carey Price, Henrik Lundqvist, and Roberto Luongo. You're going to have to figure out in some way how you rank those 3, plus any others that we go back through. Those are just the ones that the top of my head, those 3.
How many years we going back? All time?
Way back. Oh, we could go all time with this. We could make it a whole show if we wanted to, a big long history lesson. We could do first half players and like skaters and second half goaltenders or something like that. But yeah, we're thinking of all sorts of fun off-season content to hit you guys with. It's going to be an absolute blast. We're so excited to see where the show goes. I do need to put up the banner one more time here as well. Once I find it, there is a new link. If you have not yet signed up for BetStamp, downloading the app, signing up for sportsbooks through the BetStamp app, there is one place now where you can do that will streamline all of that. If you go to https://
back up.
Sign
up. Did you just include that?
I did, because believe it or not,
what are you?
Believe it or not, that's part of it.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because you can't just put www. I tried it and somehow that link didn't work. So go figure.
The tech.
But you go to signupexpert.com, spelled exactly as it sounds, no space, no or hyphen, no underscore, just signupexpert.com/pod Snipe Celly.
That's us. It's up here somewhere where I'm pointing. It's right there.
There you go. You got it.
Well, that's my name, but above my name.
Download the free BetStamp app. You can use our code PodSnipeCelly when you're signing up with sportsbooks. You cannot place wagers through the app. You still have to go to the sportsbook, but you can sync the app with the sportsbook or sportsbooks that you use. PodSnipeCelly and BetStamp will get you going there. You can track your bets. You can follow Joel and I as we go through the season on our bets and make our picks on the site. But again, free app, saves you a ton of money, makes you a ton of money because you're finding the best value to make the bets that you're already going to play anyway. So
and it's free.
That's the best part. So
free fitty.
We love you, BetStamp. Thank you for your support of our show. Thank you to you, the viewers and listeners of our show. We come to you live Tuesday nights, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. We will be back next week Joel, we may go Monday next week, as I recall. Is that what?
Yes.
What we decided? So next week's show will be Monday. It will not be Tuesday next week. We did not want to go potentially head to head with game 5.
Game 5 if necessary, which it should be necessary.
Because games 3 and 4, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. Tuesday would be game 5 if needed. We'll see. We'll see if Florida shows up. I hope they do. I hope we make a series out of it. I shouldn't say we make a series out of it. I hope they make a series out of it.
I'm with you. And yep. So next week on Monday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern. And Dan, to end the show and put you on the spot.
Go for it.
Do we have a Stanley Cup champion by our next show?
Nope.
I agree.
He's Joel. I'm Dan. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.